Good morning, good morning. Welcome or good afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me today. I think this is clicked over. Yes, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me today. Today we are talking about, are you setting clear boundaries? So this is Debz Cooper from currently in Dunedin where the sun is shining. This is pretty exciting to have the sun shining in Dunedin, New Zealand. Thanks for joining me. If you are here on a live, let me know. That would be great. If you are here on a replay, let me know. Give me an emoji to let me know that you're here also. Thank you very much. And if you've got any questions, also let me know. I just keep forgetting all these things that we've got to remember at the start of it. So, are you setting clear boundaries? Now, I don't know if I set the clear boundaries for this. The clear boundaries are you can ask me a question at any time and I can talk to you then or not. So thanks for joining me. This was one that came about from talking to a friend, and we talked about boundaries in relationships, but also boundaries in the workplace, about people's expectations or not. So when I talk about what are boundaries, first I'd like to say, or what are boundaries, and I'm not talking about the cricket ones because I was a little bit of a cricket girl way back then, and I did know what cricket boundaries were, but I'm talking about the boundaries that your expectations are that you have no shifting on. Although I'm going to bring that one. Somewhere where you are drawing a line in the sand, like, if this happens, I'm not putting up with it anymore. Or this is how it's going to be with the certainty, and this is it, and that's all there is to it. So when I talked about your boundaries, I talked about your boundaries or your expectations that have no shifting. But realistically, boundaries can shift. Anything can shift when you put your mind to it. But it's about depending on your mood of what's going on around you, or your sleep patterns, or your food, or your social situation. And when I talk about your social situation, I'm also talking about pressure from others. So you may say, I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this, and this is how it's going to be. And you get pressure from others saying, that's unrealistic, or I don't want to do it that way, or who do you think you are? So as I go through this Facebook Live, just let me know if these are resonating with you, because there are real firm boundaries that we stick to, and we say solidly there is nothing moving on that. So I do know one of the things that I had a very firm boundary on was if my partner had cheated on me or dabbled outside the relationship. So under no, if that partner had ever cheated on me, or any partners had cheated on me, that was it, done. I was done. Nothing was ever going to let me go back to them. However, there was one partner I had who cheated on me multiple times, and the first time it happened, I was like, oh no, it's not going to happen again. I fell into that loop of, it's me, it's not them, it's me, it's them, it's me, it's them, where am I going? Until I stayed. And then it happened again. And then I went, oh, it was just a one-off. Oh, it was just a one-off. And it happened again and again. So it was about the third time, I believe, that I actually went, you know what? My boundaries at the very start of this relationship were, if you cheated on me, which I now call actually dabbled outside the relationship, because they are just going outside of your boundaries. So they dabbled outside the relationship boundaries that we'd set. And for me, I then went, enough's enough. I'm out. So my boundaries were very firm at the start of the intimate relationship. If this happens, I'm out. I'm not staying. Yet I did stay. I think I stayed for about 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many times I stayed. Far too many till I really got the lesson at the bigger lesson. And then I moved out of the relationship. So they were my boundaries that I started with, and things, each time something happened, I shifted my boundaries to what was happening around me. So be aware that your boundaries can change. Like I said, you know, from your social situation, pressure from others, your food, your exercise, just your mood, your whole overall core being. So clear boundaries mean clear communication, which when I say clear communication, I mean they hear you and you hear them. I know when I was younger, I went to a counsellor, and what happened was I stated my piece, and my partner stated what they heard. Then my partner stated their piece, and I said what I'd heard from my partner. And it was just a really interesting thing to say what I hear and what they say can be two worlds at difference and apart. So clear communication is about your boundaries. So they hear you and you hear them. If you would like to try that trick, well, not a trick, but if you'd like to try that, go for it. It's an interesting one to say when people say things, what you actually hear, because we hear what we want to hear. You know, there's the old joke of the men. They say the wives' ear, they only hear half of what the wives say. That's not true. They hear it all, but they just choose to take in what's important and what's not in their filter of their brain. So when we talk about clear boundaries and clear communication, be realistic. So when I say be realistic, be reasonable in what you're saying. So I'm a still believer that if you get into an intimate relationship with someone, that they are there with you and you are there with them. Unless there's differences in what's going on and circumstances. But to me, that's a indicator of a boundary that I believe in an intimate relationship. So I think that's realistic. If your partner doesn't think that's realistic, then it's time to have that you hear them and they hear you conversation. Because if it's not realistic to one person, but it's reasonable to the other, you're going to have big clashes. And this is not what a relationship's about. Now, I'm not just talking about intimate relationship, I'm talking about business relationship, family relationship. But if one says black and one says grey, you're going to have a problem. And it's not about a black and white and you come to the middle of grey. It's actually seeing everything. So you can still say, okay, I can see that you say it's grey and I still believe it's black. That's fine. But you just have to see. I believe this is actually saying we're having trouble playing this video. So I'm just going to keep talking and see if this actually works or not. Still saying it's live. We'll just give it a go. We'll give it a go. So if your clear boundaries and your clear communication are not realistic and reasonable to the other person, you're going to have problems. And I'm talking about not from, just let me see this. Okay, it looks like it's still going. And I'm not talking about from past hurts, and I'm not talking about from stories of your friends. So they have to be really your live events that are happening to you, that you are realistic with your partner. So when it comes to this, it's really important to drop the guilt, because if you have any guilt that's going on, it's going to break your soul. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about anything that you have guilt for that you've done in the past or feel you're going to do in the future. It's going to chip away at you. So take accountability in all the role that you play, and then change the action or story. So if you're setting clear boundaries, drop the guilt of what you've had from the past and let them go into what's happening in the future. So change that story or action plan or whatever that's going on. It does look like it's still filming. I'd love to know if anyone can just drop me a message, say that you can still see me. That would be super awesome. Or if you can't see me and you can just hear me. So interestingly enough, it's really come to my attention. There was a few articles I've been reading, and it's about children. And when we tickle our children, or even when we say to our children, can you hug Uncle so-and-so or Auntie so-and-so, or say hello to a stranger? What are these boundaries we're teaching our children? Because we're actually saying that your body or your tickling that I grew up with is not yours to have. It's up to your parents to say who you can interact with. So that's really an interesting one to just sit and think about. When it comes to the law, there's illegal things we do. So what are your boundaries that you're teaching others? When we talk about those illegal things, you know, it could be in the car or anything. Just be aware of that. Oh, can see me. Thank you very much. I can't see myself, so I'm just going to keep talking. So when we think about that, what are the boundaries we teach others when it comes to something illegal? So people follow exemplification. Children follow exemplification. And that's really an important one, children. Employees follow exemplification. So when we think about that, we think about, it comes from the leaders. The leaders follow their leaders. The leaders also follow the downliners, as they sometimes call it, because of what they're doing. Sometimes they're actually just as wise as the leader. So partners follow exemplification. So when I talk about this, I think about walk your talk. So if you're going to say you're going to do something, then do it. If you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. But this is all around your boundaries and setting these clear boundaries of what they are for you and for others, especially those children as well that are coming through in this era that has been very different for me. So I'm just going to reiterate again about dropping the guilt. So when I talk about the guilt will come in and destroy your soul. It'll chip away, it'll come from nowhere. You'll start feeling sick and you'll start feeling uneasy about this. So drop that guilt, let it go. Just know that you did the best you can with what you had at that time. You did the best you can with what you had at that time. And that's really important to remember and know. So take accountability for whatever happened to you then or in the past to others. Take accountability and then change the story. And when I say story or change the action plan, change the story, rewrite the story in your mind. Just go, actually, I'm going to do it this way next time if this comes up. It's as easy as that. It's not a challenge as much as what we think. And change the action plan. Be aware of the steps that you're going to do that you're going to change. So when I talk about the clear boundaries again, are you setting clear boundaries? Make sure they're clear that they can hear them. I know I said that, but they have to hear your boundaries or your expectations or your rules or whatever you want to talk about or whatever you want to label them as. But listen to their side of the story as well. And be aware that they can change. Be aware that what you say can change with the mood you're in, the sleep, your social situation, the people around you, etc. You've been put on this earth or this planet or this globe or this world, whatever you'd like to call it. You've been put on here to do something extraordinary. This is up to you to do something extraordinary with your boundaries, with your world, with what you have around you. So as much as you're not here to please others, you're here to please yourself and fill your own soul up, but you're also not here to piss off others. You're here to be the greatest person you can right here, right now. So I'd love to put your hand on your heart. Take a big, deep breath. I am worthy of this. I'm going to go out and set clear communication boundaries, and now you're going to go do it. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you coming today. I trust that you can see me in Dunedin with the sun shining in. I really love that you've joined me. Thank you, and I will see you next week with something exciting. Thanks a lot. Bye.